And welcome back to the Zelda 2 Let's Play finale! Yep, that's right, we finally finish Zelda 2 today. Now, as you just saw there was a magical barrier, which you can only get rid of if you have all of the crystals inside the palaces. So, if I hadn't have gone back to the second palace and put the crystal in there, off screen, then I would have come here and been confused as to why that wasn't working. Anyway, this is the Great Palace, my personal favourite part of the game, and a lot of people's least favourite part of the game. And I totally understand why. This area can be tough, but just with a bit of patience, magic spells, and the fact you can continue endlessly here, you can get through. Now, the enemy I just killed there, but didn't get experience from, is known as, get ready for this, the Fokkeru. Yeah, I don't know why they named it that, of all things, but yeah. F-O-K-K-E-R-U. Fokkeru. I don't know what they were thinking with that name, but yeah. They're quite tough. They shoot the fire that follows you all around, and it can be really annoying because they take quite a few hits to kill. They give 200 experience, which is nice, but honestly, if you've done mostly what I've done here, with the exception of not leveling up my sword, you shouldn't need to really grab any experience here. So, my advice for the Great Palace, for people who are struggling, just don't fight the enemies. Yeah, honestly, just work your way around the place, trying to battle as least amount of enemies as possible. You'll take pot shots, but you can get through rooms quicker that way. And because this place is full of places you can get full magic restores, don't be afraid to use your spells. I see a lot of people play this game and struggle here because they just try and run and attack enemies. But that's where the true brilliance of Zelda 2 comes into play. This palace is my favourite because it demonstrates why I love Zelda 2 so much and why I think it's a better game than Breath of the Wild and Ocarina of Time. In those games, you can use one or two skills and get away with it fine. But in this game, you need to use your spells, you need to use your sword techniques, and in this place especially, you have to use all of them together. Now, the enemy I just killed there is, get ready for this name, the Fokker. Yeah, I'm not joking, these enemy names are getting ridiculous now. But yeah, that name is so appropriate for them, because those guys are little Fokkers. Because, basically, they have a chance of hiding in these statues. So I'm showing here that there's an invisible wall in these narrow corridors, and this is in any place in this dungeon where there's an invisible corridor. But you see there, the Fokker hides in the statues. So yeah, you have to be very careful. You also need the jump spell to attack the statues in these areas, but I really recommend it because these can give you, if I find one. Nope, didn't find it. Well, some of them can give you red potions, which are obviously brilliant to get because that's a full magic top-up, which means, in short, you can get all your health back up, and then you'll be in a much better place. You can see here that I managed to find one at last, but yeah, I understand people's problem with this place. I just think, with tricks like this, it's really not that bad. And there's even an extra life and a fairy later in this dungeon to help you out if you're running low on resources. Now, I will say here, I got a bit lost as I wasn't completely confident which side I needed to go to. And bear in mind, I was doing all of this off of memory. Throughout this entire Let's Play, I have not looked at a guide for Zelda 2. All of this has been from my own experience. But yeah. Now, the little ropes there, they don't seem to be of importance, but as you can see that they shoot fire now, which can't be blocked by your shield, so that's very important to know, and you want to watch out for them because sometimes they can be annoying in this place. There's also some strategy to fighting the flying horse heads, because they can sometimes drop blue potions to give a bit of magic top up. Now this room here has the enemy that most people consider the worst in the game. I think he's just sort of annoying, but he's not as bad now that I know the trick to it. Still, this is the hardest enemy alongside the Red Axe guys and the Blue Iron Knuckles. This is the blue Fokker. The blue Fokker can only be killed with upward stabs. You can't kill this enemy in any other way, unless you get lucky with the occasional stabs, but that's really unlikely. You saw it most, I got one hit there. You want to attack this guy with upward stabs when he jumps towards you. I've made an error there, in the sense of you can attack him from the sides, but to do it, you need to make sure you're not getting hit. So this is what I'm showing here. This is the easiest way to fight these guys in these types of rooms. If you have the block here, where you can stand above him enough that he jumps up to your height, but you can block his attack, you can just keep stabbing at him. It'll take a moment, but I recommend killing these guys wherever possible, because they're very annoying when they chase after you. But you'll see me in certain parts avoid them, because, well, they can be annoying. And sometimes I do want to just get on with the dungeon. You also want to be mindful not to destroy every block in this place, because sometimes a Fokker will be hiding inside of the stones. It's just fun saying the name. Now as we make our way through, and I'm finding that we're getting further and further into this palace, I'm going to just be quiet for a moment, because there's not a lot to talk about. The king bubble there doesn't give anything, so don't bother fighting it, just ignore them. But yeah, that's about it. So I'm going to be quiet for a moment and just let you listen to my favourite music track in the game, the Great Palace theme. Enjoy. Okay, so the next room of importance is here, because you can see the fairy there, which you have to downward stab onto those bricks, but make sure you don't downward stab through the bricks or you'll fall through and die when you've grabbed the fairy. But that's a full heal, so very worth grabbing for your life to be restored. But what I like as well is, as we cross these platforms, we also see we get another life! Yay! Just what we needed. Yeah, so honestly, despite this place being the final challenge, having some pretty strong enemies in the Fokkers and Fokkeroos, also hilarious names there, this area really isn't that difficult when you know where you're going. But I will say, look at the map of this place if you have the time. This place is cruel in regards to the dead ends. There are so many ways you can get lost, get trapped, and not be able to continue. So if you want to get through this place, follow the path that I'm taking here. Most Let's Players will show this path off as well because, well, it's the way through. I'm not sure if there are other ways, and someday in the future I'd like to play through the game and just sort of explore the other rooms in this palace, but it's really not too bad. Like, this path doesn't take too long. Despite the video length, a lot of that is just because of the ending. And I almost mess up here, but thanks to Fairy, I decided to just go down this little pipe here, and this cuts out, like, most of the dungeon. I'm not kidding, we are right next to the final bosses of the game. So you want to stab these bricks here, because if you're lucky, you can find, as I did here, a red potion. Now I used the magic glitch there, because we need as much magic as we can, but I also want to have full health for this final boss fight. In quotes, because there is another boss after this. So here we go. You want shield, you want jump, and as I found out, reflect is really useful as well, though it's not required in this room. So if you don't want to use it, you don't have to. I think reflect is helpful though, and I found the use in this, for this Let's Play. The most important thing, however, you need enough magic to cast thunder. because the Thunderbird here will only be exposed to its weakness by casting Thunder. Because as long as it's red, it can't be hurt. Which means without Thunder, it's invincible. But yeah, this is the Thunderbird. You can only attack it by stabbing at the crown. And its fireballs get more and more sporadic as it fights, so it is quite a tough fight. And this is one of the hardest bosses, but honestly, it's one of my favourites. I love how intense this fight is. And because you get that free magic top-up in the bricks at times, though not guaranteed, it's not completely unfair. But yeah, the jump spell helps to hit him, and Reflect helps because the fireballs you saw there can be blocked. But that's it. So, with the Thunderbird beaten, we have one final challenge. Now I don't have all my health here. I don't have any magic. So how am I going to beat this final boss? The final challenge that the King of Hyrule, or this old man, I don't know if he's meant to be a sage or King of Hyrule, but yeah. Now you can see I'm using the suspend point here because I decided to show you all the 2 tricks to beating this boss. So first we're going to do the boring way that everyone does when they can't beat this boss before they look it up online and find the trick. So you lure him to the corner and you just stab. That's all you do. You just stab down. Ducking tends to help more and gives you more safety. But yeah, for some weird reason, he's more exposed to the left side of the screen, and if you just keep stabbing there, he'll walk into it and kill himself. This would lead you to believe this boss is a joke, and is a waste of time and a terrible final boss. But, as I've said, this is the boring way to fight the boss. And that's not how we're going to do it. Because I like challenge, and I love this boss fight. This is the best boss fight in the game. I'm not kidding when I say that. Now, I don't have the magic here to cast spells, so spoiler alert, we're not going to beat him on this attempt. But that's just one of my lives. So this is Shadow Link. You can call him Dark Link if you want, and to be fair, I think he is meant to be the original Dark Link, but the idea is this guy is a shadowy reflection of you created by the old man who's using him as a test to see if you're worthy of the Triforce of Courage. Which I think is awesome. Like, what's cooler than fighting your own shadow to see if you truly are ready to save the world? Now, I messed about a few times here before this attempt on a different save file, because I wanted to try out different spells. But, as I found out, only 2 spells are useful for this. Shield, and of course, Life. So here we go. Strategies for Shadow Link. Shadow Link is tough because he blocks most of your attacks, and you have a very short window to attack him, as he'll just block most of your attacks with his shield whenever he can. But if you keep stabbing at him, and you keep mixing up between jumping, standing, and ducking while stabbing, you'll find points where you can hit him. My best strategy for Dark Link is 2 things. Jump stabs help a lot because they give you more of a chance to hurt him, similar to the way you fight Iron Knuckles. But I also recommend, if you can lure him to either corner and get him to jump, that's a guaranteed hit you get there. Well, most of the time. I don't know if it is absolutely guaranteed, but as long as you've got the right range, you'll usually hit him when he jumps back at you. So if you can get him when he's jumping, that's the best time to hit him. Now, as we wrap up this fight, why is this my favourite boss in the game, and one of my favourite Zelda bosses ever? Because I love that there's an easy way and a hard way to fight him, and both ways are fair and fun. People say this fight's impossible. It's not. You just need patience. And to prove it, I didn't even use life there. I beat him without using life, which is an all-time new for me. But with that, we prove our courage, defeat our shadow, and we gain the final piece of the Triforce of Courage. And so, with all 3 Triforce pieces, we can wake Zelda from the sleeping spell she has been trapped in. And as she wakes up, we can see she's very happy to see us. You saved Hyrule, and you are a real Some quality voice acting there. But yeah, and as the curtain falls, we see the embrace. Or the kiss, one or the other. The end. So yeah, that's Zelda 2. The game that people call the black sheep of the series. The worst game in the Zelda series. The game that feels so pointless compared to the others. The game that's so weird and awkward and just difficult and unfair. I think it's all ridiculous. I think people really underestimate how good this game is. Let's put it in this perspective. I've played and beaten this game more times than I've played and beaten Breath of the Wild, Ocarina of Time, even Skyward Sword, and that's one of my favourite Zelda games. This game is so easy to pick up and play because of how simple it is, but it's difficult enough where it has something more deep and challenging for it. The challenge that everyone complains about, which is knockbacks, you can save it with Fairy. Oh, well, it's just a band-aid solution. Well, no, it's using your mind. This game's all about strategies. It's all about how do you use your spells in the right way in order to best overcome the challenges. I mean, this whole game is about Link overcoming different challenges in order to prove his worth and gain the Triforce of Courage. I think it's brilliant. I think this game is, in a deep way, whether intentional or not, a message about perseverance. Things will be hard. Things will beat you down, and it can seem impossible at times. But if you just use your head, calm down, and think through a solution, you can overcome anything. Maybe I'm reading a bit too deep into it. Maybe I'm not. But I think Zelda 2 has a really unfair reputation towards it. I like this game more than Ocarina of Time, Breath of the Wild, Link to the Past, and the original Zelda, amongst a lot of other Zelda games. To put it in perspective, this is my 4th favourite Zelda game. That's how much I love this game to pieces. The soundtrack, as you can hear from this piece, which I'll let you listen to at the end, beautiful. So simple because of its NES limitations, but it's so catchy and it's so fun and it captures that dark mood of the game. The story, simple but effective. The gameplay, addictive, challenging, strategic. It's everything I love in a video game and more. Honestly, if you haven't played Zelda 2 because of all the things people say, I say push through it, just try the game out. You'll find a fair, fun, and really engaging challenge. Anyway, thanks for watching.